वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयामुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 24 and Text 42. Vratam Saha Astitaha Maunam. Vratam Sa Astito Maunam Atmaika Sharanaha Munihi Atmaika Sharano Munihi Nissangaha Vyacharat Shonim Nissango Vyacharat Shonim Anagnihi Aniketanaha Anagnir Aniketanaha Vratam Sa Astito Maunam Atmaika Sharano Munihi Nissango Vyacharat Shonim Anagni Aniketanaha. Bhaktas. Vratam Vav Saha He Kaddama Astitaha accepted Maunam silence Atma by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Eka exclusively Sharanaha being sheltered Munihi the sage Nissangaha without association Vyacharat he travelled Shonim the earth Anagnihi without fire Aniketanaha without shelter. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: The sage Kardama accepted silence as a vow in order to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and take shelter of Him exclusively. Without association, he travelled over the surface of the globe as a sannyasi, devoid of any relationship with fire or shelter. Please repeat. The sage Kardama accepted silence as a vow in order to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and take shelter of Him exclusively. Without association, he travelled over the surface of the globe as a sannyasi, devoid of any relationship with fire or shelter. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here the words Anagni Aniketanaha are very significant. A sannyasi should be completely detached from fire and any residential quarters. A gruhastha has a relationship with fire either for offering sacrifices or for cooking, but a sannyasi is freed from these two responsibilities. He does not have to cook or offer fire for sacrifice because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, he has already accomplished all ritualistic performances of religion. Aniketanaha means without lodging. He should not have his own house, but should depend completely on the Supreme Lord for his food and lodging. He should travel. Mauna means silence. Unless one becomes silent, he cannot think completely about the pastimes and activities of the Lord. It is not that because one is a fool and cannot speak nicely, he therefore takes the vow of mauna. Rather, one becomes silent so that people will not disturb him. It is said by Chanakya Pandit that a rascal appears very intelligent as long as he does not speak. But speaking is the test. The so-called silence of a silent impersonalist, Swami, indicates that he has nothing to say. He simply wants to beg. But the silence adopted by Kaddam Muni was not like that. He became silent for relief from nonsensical talk. One is called a Muni when he remains grave and does not talk nonsense. Maharaj Ambarish set a very good example. Whenever he spoke about the pastimes of the Lord. Mauna necessitates refraining from nonsensical talking and engaging the talking facility in the pastimes of the Lord. In that way one can chant and hear about the Lord in order to perfect his life. Vratam means that one should take a vow as explained in Bhagavad-gītā. Amanitvam adambitvam, without hankering for personal respect and without being proud of one's material position. Ahimsa means not being violent. There are 18 processes for attaining knowledge and perfection, and by his vow, Kaddam Muni adopted all the principles of self-realization. The sense the Bhakti-vedanta Purporto Madhyana Timiran Dasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Vaita Gadadara Srivasa Urabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So after leaving the house, Kardama Muni, he travelled all over the surface of the globe as a sannyasi without any relationship to the fire or any shelter. Nissangaha Vyacharat Shonim. So he has freely travelled everywhere without any connection to fire or lodging or shelter, accommodation. Whenever we go anywhere to any other place, the first thinking will be how to organize food and accommodation. Sannyasi requires the food and even the accommodation, but then he is nissangaha, he is not attached and he is not owning any of this. He has no connection Personally, he doesn't cook, or personally, he is not engaged in owning any accommodation. He depends eka atmaika sharano munihi exclusively on Krishna. Depending exclusively on Krishna, he gives up all other dependencies. And then vratam sa astito maunam, he is accepted. Maunam, silence, in order to think of Krishna. Also Prabhupada explains this vratam means he has taken up the 18 items of knowledge that are mentioned in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā. That is called vrata. Every devotee has to take a strict vow to practice these items of knowledge which are mentioned in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, which starts with amanitvam, adhambitvam, ahimsa kshantirajyavam, acharyopasanam. So Kardama Muni, here we can see he has taken maunam as one of the items in order to practice atmaika sharano munihi, exclusive dependence on Krishna. By constitution, every one of us, we are meant to completely depend on Krishna. That is the nature of the part and parcel. It depends on the whole. For example, in our body, there are many parts and parcels. Hand is there, legs are there, eyes are there, nose is there, many parts are there. But they exclusively depend on the root, the stomach, for their energy and support and maintenance. In the similar way, we are constitutionally designed or created to depend exclusively on Krishna. But our material conditioning is such a way, instead of depending on Krishna, we depend on material arrangements. We try to create so many arrangements so that we can comfortably live without any anxiety. And our faith will be on the arrangements that we make. Completely, so whole life he will be running behind, creating these kind of arrangements for his maintenance, for his food, for his accommodation. Sometimes people, because they travel everywhere, they keep one house. Some big people, they keep one house here, one house there, in that city, in this city. They want to have perfect arrangement, for all those, for their comfortable living. So a living entity is tuned like that. He depends on this material arrangements for his safety, for his maintenance. So Shastra is saying, instead of depending on the external energy of the Lord, why don't you depend directly on the Lord? Even the external energy is also under the control of the Lord, the Supreme Lord. So if a devotee directly depends on Krishna, and then he does his duty, as a matter of duty, he can make some arrangements, he can try to make some arrangements. But ultimately, whatever is been sanctioned by Krishna, he is happy. He is not, he doesn't have expectation. Sometimes when some people who came to Kumbh Mela, they were having some expectations that when we go there we will have some Innova car and there will be some kind of a red carpet everywhere for them to just go and have a dip and all that. But when they go and see, those arrangements may not be there. Not possible. In fact, in the Kumbh Mela area, going on a two-wheeler is a best luxury, because your Innova car will not move. There's so much crowd on the roads. And on two-wheeler you will be able to reach. In fact, if you can walk some 3-4 kilometers, that's the best. Reach the place and then have bath and come back. Creating lot of expectations for this, material arrangements, and that causes the misery. So a devotee, he doesn't have any such expectation. He just goes there and whatever arrangements he can get, he is happy by the sanction of the Lord. Whatever is available, he is happy. His focus is on Krishna consciousness. Focus is on surrender to Krishna. Atmaika Sharano Munihi. This is a very important. Surrendering to Krishna completely, that is our ultimate goal. This whole process is how to increase our surrender day by day. This is the process of Krishna consciousness. Somebody asked Prabhupada how much time it will take to perfect our lives. He says, 1 second. If you can completely depend on Krishna, then there is no more material life for you. But then the living entity is so conditioned on his own endeavors and efforts. He thinks that by his own hard work, he can perfect his life. But a devotee, his thinking is different. Here we can see Atmaika Sharana. He wants to depend on Krishna. That is his natural position, his happy position. If there is a chance where he can depend more on Krishna, he is very happy. For example, book distribution. So the devotee, he doesn't know what exactly will happen. He takes a bag of books, and when he is leaving his room or his place of accommodation, and is going into the world to distribute the books, he doesn't know what kind of accommodation, what kind of food, or he is not thinking of all those. He is excited to give these books of Prabhupada to anybody and everybody, and who takes also he doesn't know. How much he will be able to sell, he doesn't know. Whether he will get some minimum money to come back also, he doesn't know. He takes the books and he jumps into the Atmaika Sharana. Depends on Krishna. And a devotee who does like that, simply thinking of Lord's service, and takes all kinds of inconveniences in order to execute his service, he feels that happiness of depending on Krishna. He sees how Krishna is silently working in order to he sees the Krishna's hand, the help he perceives, Krishna's helps he perceives, and when he perceives that help, he becomes very happy. See, this is our relationship. How we become happy? When we perceive Krishna. Krishna's mercy, Krishna's help, immediately we become very happy. Ordinary people, they become very happy when they perceive success by his own hard work and endeavor. Yes, I can do this, I can finish this, I can. So that's why here vratam means that first of all, he is not anxious for any recognition. Respect, recognition, he is not anxious. Ordinarily, they seek respect. They are so geared up. For sake of respect, they can go to any extent. They are always thinking of this recognition, respect in the society. And if there is no respect, they will fight for it. Till he dies, he will be fighting for that respect. So, we can see here that knowledge begins when one stops this hankering of respect. He is not depending on being respected or not respected. Atma Eka Sharanam. He is depending on Krishna. He continuously executes his services. Because as soon as somebody takes up Krishna consciousness, there is a possibility of honor, dishonor, all these things. From his own family members it is possible. Maya is so powerful that it creates all these illusions. But a devotee, he is not affected by those dualities. Radha Govind ki jai. He is not affected by those dualities. He is focused on his service. How I can please Krishna? How I can increase respect of Krishna, Guru and Krishna in the society, in whoever I meet. This is his calculation. He is not calculating, okay, what about my respect? Nothing. In case we go somewhere and somebody respects, you should know this is actually not mine. It is behind me. My Guru is there. His institution is there. It is actually his respect. People are respecting him and they are seeing me as a representative. Because they are seeing me as a representative of Guru and Krishna, that's how I am getting this respect. Not because I am very talented, or if you go in pant and shirt, they will not even bother. They will not even look at you. They'll just say, go away. So one should know the respect that we are receiving is not because of our qualifications. It's because of Prabhupada's mercy that he has accepted us as his disciple, and he gave us this opportunity to serve the Supreme Lord, to depend on Krishna. This is his glory. Prabhupada's glory, that he has given this chance to depend on Krishna even for people like us. Otherwise, what was our qualification? So, a devotee, he has to be like that. Amanitvam, adambitvam, no pride. He knows all those good qualities, or respect, or renunciation, or control of mind, or whatever abilities or qualities that he has gained, it's only because of the mercy of the spiritual master. It's a mercy, that's all. It's not that I am doing my service so wonderfully, I am doing my sadhana so wonderfully, that now I am eligible for all these things. No. Even if you do everything nicely also, it is ultimately the mercy of the spiritual master. Your endeavor is only a little bit. So one should remember that I am completely dependent on my Guru and Krishna's mercy. Without that, one becomes unnecessarily proud by his achievements, and that will be hampering his devotional service. Whether we are able to do more tapas, or we are able to do more services, or whether we are able to read more, chant more, dance more, whatever, all this we should know it's only by Prabhupada's blessing, Krishna's blessing. So, Like that, one always glorifies his spiritual master and the Supreme Lord. And even if somebody glorifies him, he doesn't accept. He says, no, this doesn't belong to me. This belongs to my spiritual master. Whenever anybody glorifies Prabhupada, Prabhupada says, no, this is, I am not qualified. It is only by my Guru's mercy. He always used to glorify his spiritual master. If at all there is some credit to me, this is Prabhupada says, it is that I tried to follow my spiritual master. I repeated whatever I heard from my spiritual master. So this should be the mood. So the devotees have to culture this humility, this kind of a thinking. Whatever words we are hearing now, that I have to give, I am actually dependent on Guru and Krishna. This has to be continuously thought over and really see how it is really so. We have to see that. In our day-to-day life, we should see that how actually Krishna, Guru, Krishna, they are only doing many things, and our endeavor is actually very little, but nonetheless, there are some big results, and I should not take credit for the entire result. So like that, Atmaika Sharanaha, depending on Krishna exclusively. And this science we have forgotten. We depend on others, we depend on material arrangements. In fact, we depend on donors, we depend on well-wishers, we depend on so many people. Externally, yes, there is a dependency, but actually, internally, a devotee knows, even a donor cannot help me. So he depends on Krishna. Only if Krishna decides, sanctions, then only even the donor can also help me. So inside the heart, the devotee is not depending on this donor or this well-wisher, that well-wisher. Of course, we have to take care of them, do our duty to ensure that they also progress in Krishna consciousness. But ultimately, one's dependency is on Guru and Krishna. That's all. He doesn't want to depend on any temporary arrangement of this world. He wants to depend on something permanent. This is intelligence. He builds up his dependency on eternal, permanent, blissful source. He doesn't want to depend on some temporary sources of, let us say donor gives little money, immediately he is a source of pleasure. But next moment he can be the source of misery. He will come and complain, this is not that is not. Many things can go wrong. So, devotee continuously is focusing on Krishna and he talks only of Krishna. It is said that a rightly situated devotee, whenever he opens the mouth, he only talks about Krishna, Krishna's service, Krishna's name, Krishna's pastimes. And if he talks like that, only of Krishna, then that is called mauna, silence. This is contradictory. He is always talking, but he is still mauna. He is completely silent. In 10th chapter, Krishna says, Maunam chaivasmi guhyanam. Of secret things I am silence, he says. There could be many secret things, and if one can maintain silence, that represents Krishna. What it means is, through silence only you will be able to maintain secrecy. Let us say somebody comes and asks, what do you eat on a festival day? Then let us say you are maunam. You don't open your mouth, silent. Then the secrecy is maintained. Nobody knows what it is. There is one more way you can maintain secrecy is diplomacy. You directly don't tell the answer. You will say, what are you eating on a Janmashtami day? Janmashtami, of course, we don't eat. Maybe the next day, whatever. What is your? So devotees will say, we eat whatever we offer to Krishna. That's all. We don't eat anything. He will think, oh, maybe some pulihogara, daddodana. He doesn't know that we are offering 108 items to Krishna. So diplomacy and silence, they maintain secrecy. But Krishna says that silence represents him. He is not saying diplomacy is good. Particularly for devotees, duplicity with other Vaishnavas is not good. Diplomacy, duplicity, keeping something inside and doing something outside. These things are not good. Saralata, simplicity, is one of these 18 items mentioned in Bhagavad-gītā. Saralata, simplicity, straightforward. With Vaishnavas. With outsiders, we have to behave according to the situation. If required, we may have to tell a lie also. But with Vaishnavas, we should be very careful not to manipulate. So Prabhupada is saying here, this mauna of the impersonalists, their mauna is because if they open mouth, they talk all kinds of things. And one more thing is that they may not even know what is Vedanta. And so they practice mauna. Prabhupada says, as long as somebody is silent, you don't know whether he is intelligent or not intelligent. Silent and very grave. You really don't know. But as soon as he opens his mouth, then you understand what is this level. Is it simply focusing on body? That means he's only talking about eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Or is he talking about some many isms, nationalism, this ism, that ism, mental platform? When he talks very intelligently, logically, reasoning, the logic reason is foundation of the so-called science. Very scientifically he'll be talking. You know, okay, looks like little intellectual. And some people, when you hear their talk, they'll say, I did it, I. Next half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, go on hearing. It'll all be about I, mine, is mine, this is mine, that is mine, I only. This is ego, false ego. But a devotee, when he opens his mouth, he talks about Krishna, he talks about Bhagavad-gītā, he talks about Krishna Lila. See, that's the difference. Speaking, nobody can. Artificially just restraining the mouth, and somehow you put a bandage or something, or you tie it up so that your mauna is maintained. But internally, let us say you are thinking of all kinds of things. That is not mauna. That foolishly stopping the sense organ, that is actually foolishness. One should know how the talk should be. Like Prabhupada is mentioning Ambarish Maharaj, he gives this example. Whenever he talks about Vaikunta Gunanu Varnane. He is glorifying Krishna, he is glorifying Vaikunta. That is called real mauna. So, particularly for devotees who have joined the mission, is such a great opportunity. Whenever there is an occasion to talk, if we can bring Krishna, that is the best. It looks very simple concept, but I have seen not easy. Not at all easy to bring Krishna, a Krishna conscious talk, a Krishna conscious discussion, sharing of thoughts. These are all not easy. So much discipline is required. Mental discipline is also required to ensure that we only talk about Krishna. Recently I saw one video. Some sannyasi looks like. He is very worried about Vishwaguru title given to Prabhupada by some impersonalists. It's about, I think, 11 minutes or whatever that video is. He's go on talking this, that. In 11 minutes, I have not seen one time uttering Krishna. He's uttering something else. So if anybody gives a earth-shaking talk, you see how many times he's saying Krishna or Lord Chaitanya. That's always no use. Everything else is false ego. So it is better for such people to maintain mauna. Put a big band-aid, sit like that. Whenever you are hungry, put little bit and put band-aid again. Considered to be very good for such people, because he opens mouth, all nonsense will come out. Better you put a bandage. We can supply all the bandage to you. You can, day after day, you can just put your bandage. So this maunam is recommended for such people. If a child is very naughty, making all kinds of sounds, sometimes parents will say, be silent, sit down, silent, kucha. It is like that. People who opens mouth, all kinds of fault finding, criticism, and all kinds of things comes out. For them it is better they put a bandage, sit like that. In some religious paths, they do that. They keep a bandage and then go on. I would say they are better than people who speak nonsense or criticize people who are actually doing something. Till today, nobody could bring such a glorification to Prabhupada, that even other transcendentalists, other impersonalists, or whatever, they are also transcendentalists because they know they are not these bodies. Even such, they glorified Prabhupada and they gave a title, Vishwaguru. But then so many people, they cannot even understand. What is wrong if somebody is glorifying Prabhupada? He could be Mayavadi, he could be Karmi, he could be businessman, he could be this, he could be that. If he is glorifying Prabhupada, then what is the problem? What is your problem? It is good for the jiva, no, who is glorifying. Our movement is what? We have to induce everybody to glorify Prabhupada and Krishna. So then what is our problem? What did you understood about Sankirtan, Lord Chaitanya's movement? Very surprising. For them, this bandage is better. Just put one big this thing and sit quietly like that. Don't talk. Because if you talk, it will hurt you only. Better don't talk. So that's why, and sometimes talking to some foolish people, nonsense people, that's also not good. Simply, if you talk to somebody who unnecessarily, he'll get angry. So that time also maunam is practiced. Here Kardam Muni, he is practicing maunam, but continuously Atmaika Sharano Munihi. He is taken complete shelter of Krishna. That is the perfect mauna. Not like artificially controlling the sense organ and thinking of all kinds of things. Real maunam means he is thinking of self-realization. He is thinking of Krishna, Krishna's pastime. So devotees, it's a great opportunity because they have so many things to talk about Krishna and Krishna's name, pastimes. They can go on discussing this. But if the discussion is about criticizing somebody, finding faults with somebody and this and that, for him maunam is better. Don't talk. Just sit quietly and then otherwise you do your duties and services. That is much better. So one has to be careful and ensure that he takes a vow to practice those 18 items mentioned in the 13th chapter. Actually, one should read those items nicely. Then you will come to know whether I am practicing the path of knowledge or I am practicing the path of ignorance. Krishna says anything beyond this 18 is all ignorance, he says. So should we not learn this? What is this path of knowledge that Krishna is describing? And that begins with humility, to learn, to hear and to learn. I don't know anything. If somebody thinks like that, then he'll try to hear. If somebody thinks I know everything, then what is there for him to hear? Nothing. He will be completely distracted. So, first of all, we should learn this science of becoming humble, humility, develop. Whenever we are coming to read Prabhupada books, whenever we come to hear class, we should come with a blank slate. In the mind, clear up all that. Mind will be saying, already we know, everything is there, everything is Krishna, everything. First you clear it up. Come like a blank slate. This is called pranipat. Pranipat means blank slate. Come and sit and listen as if you are listening everything for the first time. First time when we were hearing, it's all big surprise and we are very eager. That eagerness should be there for every class or every reading of Prabhupada books. We have to approach Guru like that. Otherwise, just things will be going on and we will not be Atmaika Sharana. We will not exclusively depend on Guru and Krishna. Any questions? Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.